When left to his own devices, Kash Patel has proven himself to be a wildly vindictive partisan. When around Donald Trump, Kash Patel has proved himself to be a sycophantic suck-up. Kash Patel, mark my words, will cause evil in this building behind us, and Republicans who vote for him will rue that day.
Just hours after Senator Sheldon Whitehouse issued that warning outside FBI headquarters, the Senate confirmed Kash Patel as FBI director, with only 2 Republicans dissenting. Patel, who has published an enemies list of government officials and children's books in which Donald Trump is the king, will now head the country's premier law enforcement agency, with all of its broad powers of surveillance and investigation. He takes over as the FBI is also in turmoil, with the Trump-Musk administration already forcing out several senior FBI executives and multiple heads of field offices, and demanding a list of all the thousands of FBI agents across the country who worked on January 6th investigations. And Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat of Rhode Island and senior member of the Judiciary Committee, joins me now. Senator Whitehouse, you have been fighting like hell, I think I can say, to prevent Kash Patel from getting confirmed. You had some strong words today outside of the FBI headquarters. He's going to be the director tomorrow. What are you preparing for him to potentially get started in the next couple days?
I think lots of oversight, because there is no way that this does not end badly with this guy over at the FBI. I mean, you can go on and on about his problems. He has foreign entanglements through Cayman Island corporations with Chinese interests. He asserted the Fifth Amendment, and Republicans in the Judiciary Committee wouldn't even make him explain what crimes he legitimately thought he was in jeopardy for. He's gotten a complete pass because of the power of Trump and the roughness, the thuggery of the application of political force to Republican senators. He's not qualified. 4 Trump colleagues of his in the first administration have gone on and on publicly about how unqualified he is. They wouldn't have been in their office over my dead body, forced on me, ludicrous individual. That's the kind of stuff that this guy brings to a very, very serious job. And so now it's time for accountability for those votes.
What does that look like? I mean, you said earlier today that Republicans will regret, and many of them may. Everything you outlined and more is, I think, valid concerns. The political enemies list is one thing he could start with. But yes, what do you think that looks like? What will they regret?
The FBI has a very distinct ethos. There's a lot of pride in the organization, and there are a lot of people who've dedicated their lives to really important things and have done really significant work, some of it not even known to the American people. So this is a very proud group into which Donald Trump is sending this guy, and he brings the worst of a record that he could. And they're already doing damage to senior and respected people. They're doing random firings. They're trying to humiliate members of the FBI who other people respect. It's the worst possible way to come in. And so there will be a reaction. There will be whistleblowers who are willing to call out whatever it is that he starts to get up to, whether it's refusing to prosecute Trump cronies, or whether it's cutting deals with China, or whether it's following in the Trump-Russia stuff by shutting down intel operations against Russia, whether it's finding ways to feather his own nest. It's hard to predict because he's so bad across so many vectors of life, but there will be stuff, and we will find out about it.
I want to ask you about the China piece, because you've brought this up a couple times, and I think as people are trying to understand what to watch out for, it's important for them to understand this. You raised concerns about Patel's financial stake in a China-linked company, and the Wall Street Journal reported today that he stands to make millions from this investment. Explain to us more about your concerns and what we should really be watching for here.
Well, first of all, this wasn't well disclosed in his FBI background investigation. So this took further digging by the press to bring this out. So there's a whole separate question about whether the FBI really took a full-on professional look at this guy who was coming in. He has an interest in this Chinese company that is held in a Cayman Islands corporation. And it's worth somewhere between $1 to $5 million, which is a big amount of money for anyone. And it vests its shares. It vests during the period that he will be in the FBI. Well, Chinese corporations tend to be under the thumb of the Chinese Communist Party. And if the FBI is working against Chinese intelligence interests, which it is every day, they now have huge leverage over this guy in terms of what they can do to either enhance or diminish the value of his Chinese Communist Party controlled asset in this Cayman Islands shell corporation.
It's pretty unbelievable. Thank you for explaining it to everybody watching.
What could possibly go wrong, right?
What could possibly go wrong? Let me ask you, I mean, he literally published a political enemies list in his book. There are a lot of people on there who are well known. Some of them worked for Trump in the first administration. Some of them didn't. What can be done, if anything, to prevent him at this point from moving forward and pursuing actions against these individuals?
Well, the first thing that will happen is if anyone is charged with an offense or sent a notice that they're the subject of a grand jury investigation, they now have his whole background to take into court and say, hey, this has to stop. And they have rights in court to discovery. They can find out probably more than we even know about his motives and his animus towards individual people. So the process of trying to come after people actually will give them a big opportunity to dig into his background and show why the prosecution against him is a malicious prosecution, which not only gives rise to release from the prosecution, but also gives rise to civil liability against the individual who used his office or misused his office to try to do harm to somebody who, for personal reasons, he did not like.
Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, so much to watch here. Thank you so much for explaining a lot of it to us and really pushing back as hard as you could to try to prevent him from being confirmed. Really appreciate your time tonight.